Thank you, Mr. Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, panel, for joining us here today. I'd like to go back a little bit. Mr. Morris said, and I think Mr. James as well. You talked about if these rules go into effect, the possibility of increasing your fleet size. And this is going to be a cost that's going to have to be passed on to the consumer, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I just purchased a truck this past year, and it was $140,000 for a 2011 Kenworth. Obviously, I have to pay for that, and doesn't mean just by buying another truck does not necessarily mean that I'm going to have additional business. I obviously try to have the safest trucks on the road, and so we continually upgrade our fleet as time and equipment are needed.
And Mr. James, you know, this just seems to me to reek of taxation by regulation.
I would agree with that.
You know, we're consistently seeing new regulations come into play. The consumer ultimately now is carrying the burden of this. And these are at times when we have people that are just struggling to be able to pay the mortgage, let alone just respond to bureaucratic mandates that are coming down. Tell me a little bit about the truck safety that we're seeing. Have we seen an increase in accidents?
No, sir, we have not. Since the last regulations were put into place in 2003, I think through several of the other testimonies, it was mentioned that driver fatalities and accidents have actually decreased over time.
So we've got a safe industry, and we're trying to regulate it more.
That sounds pretty accurate to me.
Sounds pretty accurate. Tell me, does you know, Mr. James, in your testimony, you stated that it's not uncommon for drivers to experience unexpected delays at petroleum terminal facilities. Does that count towards their time, driving time?
Absolutely, it does.
Does that make sense to you?
As far as just sitting in the cab?
Yeah, in terms of we're going to go ahead and give a break when they're already sitting there waiting at the terminal.
That is correct, and that's actually in my fourth point.
Right.
I suggested that for petroleum transporters, we be allowed to count up to 3 hours additional waiting time as off-duty time. That would allow our drivers to count the time that they're sitting and basically just resting, if you will, to count as off-duty so that we can maximize those deliveries, so that we don't have to put on unneeded equipment and or people unnecessarily.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, this might be for the whole panel. You know, we've heard a lot of regulations coming through, particularly in this Congress, and we're trying to do some good oversight. Public opinion, comments are always taken in before regulations are coming out. Do you hear your voice being heard? Are the regulators really listening?
I would say in my case, you've given us ample opportunity to express our concerns, and we certainly appreciate that. So we thank you.
Yep. Gentlemen?
Likewise, having the opportunity is the first step. How we act, or I'm sorry, how this body acts on our requests. I guess you could, if you have an ailment, you could ask your surgeon or your healthcare provider for the best resolve. And I appreciate the offer of being here today to give us the opportunity to say what's really happening, what our true life experiences are, because this is over and unnecessary regulation that we feel is upon us.
Thank you.
I would agree with the opportunity here today, and we've made requests to our congressman, and he's been obliging, and I think we are being heard. I think it is starting to change.
Great.
We definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak before the subcommittee. In addition, FCSA has given us good access to provide information to them. I think the end result of what we see as far as regulation will determine whether they heard us or not.
Great. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking the time to be here. You know, it just seems to me that you're facing a lot of challenges. Credit's a challenge for you to be able to get out and do it. The services that you provide, that quality is at a premium, and you're doing your very best to be able to deliver a quality service at the lowest available price. And you know, applaud your efforts and your willingness to be able to come in, because this is part of the role when we're talking about creating jobs in America and keeping people employed in America right now. This is absolutely fundamental, and appreciate your insights. Thank you.